When choosing a research group to do your PhD or postdoc in, it's incredibly important to know what you're getting into and if it is indeed the right fit for you. So, in other words, you have to make an informed decision on whether this is the place you want to spend your next couple of years worth of brain power in. But we often think about what we as candidates for the PhD position will be asked about during the interview. We often neglect the importance of asking questions to the potential supervisor and the group members. So today we'll talk about which questions you want answered before committing to several years of research within a single group at any university. While your interest in the research topic of the group is imperative, other things like group dynamics, learning opportunities, vacation days, etc. Are often put in the second plan. However, it is very often that these little things, as we talk about here in the channel, make up a difference between a good and a bad PhD experience. So let's see what these things are and why they matter. I've been gathering all of these interesting questions over the last 2.5 years, and I've asked most of them during my interviews, and I encourage you to do the same. For the sake of some organization, I've grouped them in a couple of sections, as we're going to see now. And the full list is available on my website. The link is in the description, so please check it out. So let's find out about your potential supervisor's work style. So the first thing you want to know is how frequently are you going to meet, and in general, how much time they're going to have for you. So some supervisors might work in several institutions or in multiple universities, and they can rarely be around. Also, there's a lot of travel involved, so you need to get a feeling if this is the right fit for you, or it's something like maybe weekly meetings, more towards your work style. Then the second question is, how would you describe yourself as a group leader? And I like this one because it's one of those questions that rarely have a straight answer, and it will make them think, and you probably can learn a lot from the answer they provide. You want to know about tracking progress and in general, what is the expected progress, especially for the first couple of semesters. Now, get a feeling of the group you'll be working with. So these are the people that will, work with you in the lab and that you'll spend most of your time around. So it's nice to see what they're like. Here we have another one of those questions that don't really have the straight answer to. How would you describe the working culture in your lab? And I like this one because it can lead to a lot of different answers. And you can ask this question both to the potential supervisor and to group members. Then something that's really important in my eyes is work-life balance, and it's good to know if this is important for your group as well, and if there's a policy on working long hours or weekends, is it a regular thing or maybe just before some deadline? So you want to align this with your interests. Then another very important question is how often do students take time off? Ask about potential social events like, Friday pizza or similar. Question that's, getting more and more necessary is whether the people usually work from home or from the office. I think now going forward, there will be more and more people work from home. So if you like a lot of people around you, you might want to consider that as a factor as well. Okay, so moving on to the formal conditions. The first question is very important to ask, like, is there a required number of papers to publish before, being able to proceed with submitting your PhD thesis? You don't want to find out in your third year that, you need to have 3 top-level publications to be able to submit your thesis and 1 journal paper or something similar. You want to know that beforehand. Very important thing is that your supervisor will probably answer. How long do you think a PhD should last? This will vary from country to country, from continent to continent, and from field to field. but it's important to know what you're getting into. And also it's important to know whether the funding is secured for the whole duration of the PhD. Another important thing is to know whether you'll be working on an existing project or a new one, meaning that if there's someone to guide you through your first steps, that's probably a good thing. But also you want to make sure that the project is aligned with your interests and that you will not be shifting a lot if that's not what you're aiming for. And now the other side of the conditions is like working conditions, and here I think it's important to know if there's actually enough resources for me to do my job. And by resources, I mean like computing powers. Nowadays we need a lot of CPUs, GPUs, powerful machines. So make sure you have that to do your research. Some kind of lab reagents and simple questions: do I get a laptop or I need to use my personal computer? So that all can be a factor in your decision. Also, you want to know if there's any like formal obligation towards your doctoral program in general, like attending some meetings, attending some classes. Usually you will have to listen to some classes, and beforehand you want to know how much time and effort it's going to take you to pass all of these classes. An important question, if you're going to have that in your contract, is what are your teaching assistant duties? And here you can ask the professor, like the potential supervisor, but I would also recommend asking the group members to find out what actually are your TA duties and how much time it's actually going to take. So moving on to collaborations as a pinnacle of modern day in science so it's very important to know beforehand if collaborations are encouraged and how do you find collaborations, like is it up to you or the professor already has some collaborations in mind. Another thing you want to know is whether there's a possibility to go on an internship and some research visits. So internships can be in a research group or potentially in the industry. And if that's important to you, get a feeling of what your supervisor stands on that. Of course, very important thing, attending conferences. This is where you will meet most of your peers, where all of these, depending on the field, but the majority of stuff happens there in terms of meeting new people, discussing new research, etc. So it's good to know if there's funding for you to do that, to attend a conference, and what are the requirements of attending a conference. Like, do you just have to have a paper there, or it has to be a certain kind of conference? And finally, you probably want to know if it's possible to attend summer schools, if that's something that you would like. Summer schools can be very fulfilling. You meet a lot of people that are kind of in the same stage as you are. Okay, now where to find these answers? There's a lot of questions, and of course you will not go through through each and every one of them with your potential supervisor, because they will interview you for an hour and you will interview them for an hour. So you can probably find a lot of these answers on university websites and maybe from some kind of interview committee or some kind of communication office. You can find out those answers before the actual interview with the potential supervisor. Also, what I would really suggest is requesting a meeting with junior members of the lab, with fellow PhD students you'll be working with, and from them you can find out another point of view of how it is working in that lab. All right, thanks for listening, and stay tuned if you want to find out about how these little things can impact your PhD journey. And let me know if you think I've missed any of the important questions in the comments. Bye.